In this video, I'll be going over some good practices to keep in mind with your EcoFlow power unit. So let's get right into it. Okay, so I'm going to focus on more how to use these. I'm not going to go over too many specs or anything on this. That'll be a separate video. But right now I'm connected to solar, and so when you get your unit from us, it'll be located in either behind the passenger seat like this one, or it'll be over in behind the driver's seat, and you'll have mounting, with straps. I just don't have that right now. I'm still building out this vehicle. But as you can see on the screen here, it says, 97%, and then your input is at 20 watts. So that's from the solar, and I'll show you. So the sun, it's not very high, and it's going down. So it's not great solar at all by any means. You can kind of tell what we got going on here. So not the best input, midday and not overcast like it is today is way better. So depending on your conditions, you may want to charge it off the car. And so you can switch that very easily. Sorry, the train came by, so I had to change positions. So we're inside the rig here, and like I said before, I'm plugged into solar, and so that's on the back of the unit. See that there? And I'll unplug that so you can see what that looks like. So this is the solar plug. It looks like that. And we give our clients a lot of length on their solar, and then it has an inline fuse. So if you ever are just like out of solar completely, check this fuse, and that's the first place I would start, and then you can go from there. But this is long, so you can have it outside, like on a table, or take it to the back of the vehicle. Which I'm going to do here in another video I'm making today. And so it's nice to have, this big long length. And I will also say with solar, if it's, not very good sun, you're obviously going to want to charge off your car. And so solar's great and it's awesome. But depending on conditions, you're not going to be able to keep up with your electronics. And that's just with any build. And so that's why we like having the backup. And that is the 12 volt from the car. Now this is orange, but this is actually a Delta Max car charger, and that's why it's orange. So the Delta ones will be yellow, just like that. Probably too much information, but that I give it. So this is run, I have it down below there on the side of the fridge, and just plugged into the car 12 volt cigarette lighter. And so if I'm just driving on the highway and it's not great sun, or it's night, or a couple different instances, I will at that point plug in the 12 volt, so you'll have to get out of the car, maneuver it a little bit, and I'm going in blind. Sorry. Let me plug it in. Sorry, I had to move this thing, this dang train. Anyway, so now I have it plugged in with the cigarette lighter off the car, and the car is running, and I'm getting, as you can see, around 93, 94 watts of input. So more than 4 times the amount of sun I was getting. And so just depending on your conditions, you're going to want to change it up. And honestly, car charging might be, a good option just to have as your default. And then once you hit camp or you're boondocking for a while, then yeah, switch it over to solar. But this on average is going to charge it faster through the car. And then the important thing to remember is when you'll stop your car. This is still on the GM, the cigarette lighter. They're hot, they have power even when the car is off. And so this thing is still just going to be charging away. Without the engine on, it's a little bit less power, and but you're going to want to turn off the car and unplug this, because if you don't, then you'll run your battery dead. And so that's just something to practice. Alright, so I thought I'd finish the video here in the studio. I've got the Dometic CFX28 and the EcoFlow Delta power unit behind me, and I'll do a little more explanation of the best practices to charge, and I'll go into some specs about some of the things that we use and how much wattage that each of those things uses. So let's get right into it right here. So this is the EcoFlow Delta power unit that we use in most of our builds. This is the base unit that comes with all of the builds, and you can upgrade to the Delta Max. Main differences between those, just really quickly, is the Delta Max has a little bit bigger inverter, and it has a bigger lithium battery bank. So this unit, the Delta, has 1260 watt hours. And so we're going to be talking in watt hours on this video, not in amp hours. And so when you see most companies that have these, they'll advertise it and they'll use that number. So for example, I'm sure you've heard of like Goal Zero or Jackery. They'll have like the Jackery 500 or the Goal Zero 500X and stuff like that, right? So that number usually means how many watt hours are in the unit. And so those are like 500 watt hours. So this unit is 1260 watt hours, and it's a great size, and I will show you the math on it and why it's a great size for all the things that we use on it. So for charging on this, it's the fastest way to charge it is to plug it in to a 110. So plug it into your house. So it's just a 3-prong, regular cord, and it goes right in there. So that'll go like that. And then that plugs into your home outlet, obviously. EcoFlow has this cool technology. They call it Extreme, I think. And like for example, this unit goes from 0 to 80% in about an hour, which is extremely fast. And so that's one thing that I really like about these units, is that prior to a trip, you can just bring it into your house. It's super portable. Plug it in, get it to 100%, and bam, you're ready to go. The next fastest way to charge these is through the car cigarette lighter. charger. And so it's going to be either orange or yellow. Same spot. You plug it in there so you can see. And then this end of it will go into the car cigarette or power port in the front. There's two of them on the Suburbans usually, two or more. And so this will give you, I get my exact numbers here. That will give you about 650 watt hours of recharge in 7 hours. And so I'm basing these numbers on 7 hours, these next two. And so remember that, 650 watt hours. And so it gives you an input of about 90 watts, like what I was doing on that video. And then the next one we'll go over is solar panel. So the solar panel, it will use the same style of plug, but it'll obviously be a different. And so we have that pre-wired, and it'll be a different plug. And so what I would do, I would default out to the car charger, the one we just went over, and that's what I usually do when I'm traveling. So as you're driving, you're getting that good charge, and then when you go to your spot, depending on sunlight and everything, you can just swap that out. So you just unplug that and then plug in the 100-watt panel that's on top of the car. And that's going to charge it at a slower rate, on average, about 400 watt hours in 7 hours. And so, they say there's about 7 to 8 hours of sunlight, and then there's, depending on where you're at, 3 to 5 hours of peak sunlight. And so you can get really geeked out on this stuff, but the peak sunlight, just depending on where you're at, you're not going to be getting that. And so it's best to really rely on that car charger for some of your charging. Now let's get into some individual units that are charged off of the power unit. So we'll start with the fridge. This is the Dometic CFX28, and the compressor, in a fridge isn't going to run for 24 hours straight. Just like in, any refrigerator, like in your home or anything like that. If you've noticed, the compressor doesn't run all the time. And so on average with these, they'll run about 8 hours a day. And so that will total out to about 280 watt hours per day. And that depends on how cold it is and different weather, but that's just a good place to start. So 280 watt hours. And so, for example, if you're just charging it off of solar, let's say, you leave it at your campsite and you have, good average solar, then the solar panel will be able to keep up with the fridge output, if that makes sense. The solar panel is 400 watt hours in a day, and the Dometic fridge is 280. And so you'll still be good there. So the solar panel will keep up for the most part, depending on sun. Again, this is all very variable. And then the next one I'll go over is the LED light that recessed LED light that we put in the ceiling. That doesn't draw much, but you'll have about 26 watt hours a day, depending on how many hours you use it. And then the Maxxair fan, you'll be right at about 96 watt hours if you use it every night. So 8 hour draw, that'll be 96 watt hours. And then a cell phone will be at 72 watt hours, and that's again at 8 hours. And so as you can see, we don't really use anything crazy that's going to draw a lot of power, and that's how we like to keep our builds really simple like that. And then also on this display, you'll be able to see a lot of different things, and this is actually you can link this with your app, and you can monitor, link it to your phone, so through an app, and so you can monitor what's going on and everything like that too. So but with this, See how it says 99 hours? And so if I plug something in, it'll go down. And that is just telling you how many hours you have left till your battery is down to 0. And so if I plugged in the fridge, it would be, whatever, 35 hours or whatever it is. And so that's another way to monitor this. That's obviously, it says 80%, so there's 80% battery, and then your input and your output for wattage. And I'll go into a more in-depth video on this EcoFlow unit, but for now I just wanted to do a quick video on the best practices for charging this thing up, and then how to use all the devices off of it. So that concludes this video. We went over a lot of different things. I know I will put a link, or in the description below, I'll put those specs for each of those, for the fridge and the fan, and how much power that they're using. And so that'll help you out, and just with the different specs. So just remember, the Delta is 1260 watt hours, and yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to go over. But thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.